Welcome to Mom to More. I'm your host, Sharon Macey. Join me as I speak with interesting and dynamic women who have reinvented themselves and created their more using the superpowers and skills they honed as stay-at-home moms. They will share their experiences, struggles, and successes as they return to a former career, pursued a passion or hobby, or charted an entirely new path, giving you the clarity and inspiration to help you answer the question, what do you want to do when your kids grow up? Hello. Well, welcome back to Mom to More. This week, I have two extraordinary women who are my guests, and you're going to hear just an amazing story of their journey and really excited to jump in. I have the two founders of a nonprofit called Filling in the Blanks, and it was founded by mothers and community activists, Shawnee and Tina Kramer, who created the nonprofit as a way to marry their loves of community, children, food, and charity. In 2013, Knight and Kramer created Filling in the Blanks, which has now expanded to include over 100 sites, which include schools, after-school programs, and camps throughout Fairfield and Westchester Counties, and has delivered over 2 million weekend meals to children in low-income households. These are two multidimensional moms who created something so essential in our extended community, and they serve an extraordinary 5,500 kids a week. So welcome, Shawnee and Tina. I am so excited that you guys are joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us today.
Thank you. So essential mom question, and that would be, how many kids do you each have and where did you raise them?
Okay. I have two boys, and I raised them in Connecticut here.
I have three children. I have two boys and a girl. My oldest is 27 years old, and we lived in Manhattan before moving to Connecticut. So a little bit in New York, and then the other two are currently 18 and 19 years old, and I'm raising them in Connecticut.
Gotcha. Thank you. And so tell me why, because you guys were both stay-at-home moms. So I'd love to hear the very beginning of your journey, like why was it important for you to be home with the kids? And then we'll go into how you guys met.
So for me, I know it was important to be home because I think it's always good to have a parent around, and I just wanted to be with them too. And that was kind of, I guess, what my life had just evolved into, was kind of being a stay-at-home mom. And spending time with my kids and doing play groups and play dates and all that basic stuff.
Basically everything we all did.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I grew up in New York, and I was what's called a latchkey kid. So my mom, I grew up in a single parent household. My mom worked, so I'd go home after school and, take care of myself in the afternoon. So now that I had the opportunity to stay home with my kids, I really wanted to relish in that and take, that extra opportunity to be with them as long as I could.
Absolutely. And I think we all agree that being a mom is just such an important job, because we are raising the next generation of humans, and really what could be more important than that.
Yes.
So how did the two of you meet? Because you had really, I love the, the beginning of your story of how you guys met and how Filling in the Blanks evolved.
So I moved to New Canaan a couple of years prior to Shawnee, and she was my next door neighbor. I was so excited to have someone next door. So I went over, knocked on the door. I think I was pregnant still at the time, or I just had my daughter, right? But I went over, knocked on the door, and asked her to come hang out with me, because I hadn't had a neighbor in a while. So I was so excited that a young new family was moving in next door.
And I think shortly thereafter, we were at your son's birthday party with slime super soaker guns soaked in the backyard.
Yeah, the kids became instant friends, and it was just great to have someone next door and someone relatable that I could hang out with, and sneak in the backyard at night to meet.
Have a glass of wine.
Yes.
That is really essential mom drink. Yes, wine is, we can all relate to that. And also I think depending, on where you live, parts of Connecticut, there's the properties are big. And so there's a lot of space in between you, and it's not as easy to sort of like go to your neighbor's house as like when I grew up in Missouri, where we were all just, right next to each other. So it's really special when you can connect with another mom.
Yes. And where we lived, there was no sidewalk. So it's not like you could just even take your kid in a stroller and walk down the street. It was truly, I think, the neighbors that were right next door to us. Yeah.
So you got very lucky.
Yes.
We were very lucky.
You really got very lucky. So let's talk about when did you start to realize that your mom journeys were going to be taking you down this nonprofit path? Let's sort of rewind the clock and talk about like the very beginning, you know, when you guys were like, wait a minute, we might have something here.
I mean, I think our kids were getting older, and you end up having a lot of free time during the day as they're in school all day long. And we both, I think, were like, okay, we want to do something. I too grew up in a single parent household and, you know, didn't have all the great things that my kids are able to have. And so I think it was important for us to give back. We tossed around a few ideas, from a shoe store to a bar to
A summer camp.
a summer camp. I was like, no way on the summer camp. To a farm. I don't know. We were just all over the place. And then I had heard about these kids that were going without food on the weekends and at sporting events. And then Tina read an article.
Yeah, an article in Us or People about a nationwide organization called Blessings in a Backpack. And that's when we knew that's what we had to do. We weren't sure what we wanted to do, and that really hit home because it was providing food on the weekends to kids struggling with food insecurity. And as a national organization, we became program coordinators. So we didn't necessarily have to know how to run an organization at that moment in time. We just kind of followed the structure and did the fundraising. But we quickly learned what we needed to do and decided we wanted to do it on our own. So that's how we formed Filling in the Blanks. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And you realize when you just said you didn't really know what you were doing, it's sort of the classic flying by the seat of your pants, you know, when you're starting something new. And I think that's something that a lot of moms might be a little afraid to jump in and do that. And so the two of you really exemplify that. We're just going to close our eyes and jump, or rather eyes wide open and jump in and just make something happen. Okay. And so how many years ago was that?
10 years. We just celebrated our 10-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little more about how this set up. So when you realized that you were going to be separating from Blessings in a Backpack and then going all in on your own, take me back to the very beginning. Where were your offices? How was it set up? And then how were things at the beginning? And let's talk about the progression of how you grew and how it really seemed to catch fire.
So we really had the community support behind us when we started. We surrounded ourselves with good people. If we don't know something, we ask questions. We have no shame in asking a question, because as a nonprofit, we're taking in other people's money as well. So we want to make sure that we are doing everything correctly and by the book. And so we did ask for a lot of help in the beginning. And Shawnee and I are like yin and yang, you know, we balance off of each other too. So one of us might have been freaking out that what are we doing right now? And then the other one calmed them down. So
It's easier, I think, when you're not doing it alone.
Yeah.
You're kind of on this journey together, and you have someone to lean on, or
you had a team from the beginning, and
Yeah.
you guys had the relationship in the past just as good friends. So I think that's a great place to start. And also you mentioned about asking a lot of questions. And I think sometimes as a woman, sometimes you're afraid, you don't want to look stupid. And maybe it's just an era of when we grew up and what was the norm. But I've always been I'll be the one who raises my hand and says, I don't get it. But you realize that you're not the only one who has that question. Lots of other people have that question.
Yes, definitely. And I think, I mean, maybe sometimes it's like, maybe the first couple times it's a little uncomfortable, but then you're like, okay, now I gotta ask, because you're doing something, you're running an organization, you have to know the right answer. So not everybody knows everything. Somebody knows a little bits of something.
Right. And you just need to piece all of those people together. So you have all of that knowledge. Okay. So it started, and where did you start? Where was the organization's like first office? Or unofficial office, I would say.
So we started at my house. We started in the kitchen, small operation. Our family would come in and pack the bags and tie the bags of food together. So we used our kids at first, and ShopRite Grade A in Stanford was awesome because they gave us all this used shelving that they didn't need. So it looked like a beautiful boutique because all of the labels were turned the right way. This is when we had 50 kids. So all the labels on all the cans were turned exactly the same way, in the right facing way. It was pretty funny. Now that has gone out the door. We're running a warehouse. It's way different, but back then everything was perfectly in order.
Yep. And we would just have like friends and, our kids come and pack, mom groups, youth groups, church groups, whatever group we could get together, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, would come and help us pack the bags, and then we would deliver them, or a volunteer would help us. And
how wonderful is that? Because you now have kids doing community service, helping you with this nonprofit, helping you with your journey and your mission to help other kids. So I love that other kids were able to, get involved in this mission. Okay, so what was the impetus that made you go from your kitchen to real warehouse space?
Well, it got awkward first to deal with.
It was. Because we had a moving company that would help us, Castor Moving. They would pick up the food at the supermarket and bring it to our warehouse at the home, right? So we'd have the football team standing in the snow, the youth football team standing in the snow, unloading cans of food hand over hand, like for hours in the snow. We'd pay them with pizza for their time. And it just got to be
a great way to repay. Yeah.
Yeah. It just got to be too much, too labor intensive at the house. So we started to look for warehouse space, and it just allowed us to grow and expand so much more than we could have ever in the house. Yeah.
And
that was an experience looking for the warehouse too.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Well, we had to find someplace that was safe, that we would feel comfortable working at. And a lot of the warehouse space around here is kind of in like down these roads with other warehouses around and not a lot of people. So we would be nervous being there probably alone. And it wouldn't be like a very nice place for volunteers to want to come. So we had to find like this right mix of size and a loading dock and affordable and, with room to be able to grow also, because you don't want to keep moving all the time. And so that was fun. We looked at a few places, some that we were like, oh no, we are not setting foot in this place.
It was just the two of us in the beginning. So we had to choose a place also at 5 o'clock at night when we would leave. It's safe environment for us or the kids that were coming to help us at that time. So we found a great place in Norwalk, right on Main Avenue, has a loading dock. It has, or had room for expansion. We took over the whole first floor now of warehouse space and office space. So it's been a really great spot for us.
That's nice. And okay, so this was how many years ago now that you actually moved into that?
5 years ago.
Yeah, 5 years.
Okay. 5 years ago.
In one of our conversations, you mentioned one of the talents that you have, or one of your superpowers, one of the skills that you have developed was supply chain management, which made me laugh because in my guide, I talk about that along with so many things that moms do. And your story really exemplifies really getting into the weeds with what you're doing from the bottom up, starting in your kitchen, having to find space and loading docks and I assume, trucks and partnerships.
Forklifts, racking systems that look like Home Depot racking systems, pallet jacks, things we never thought we would ever purchase or master.
Right. Which is, think about all the things you know now that you didn't know before.
Yep.
And that's a really wonderful part of your journey. And I think as any mom is considering what her next act is going to be, there is a total ramp up in information and education. And, you guys have done a lot. I look at the two of you and I think you remind me of what I call the closers. You are in that unique society, a sorority really of women who know how to get stuff done. And your story really exemplifies that. So I really appreciate that. All right, so let's talk about struggles, because obviously every organization has growing pains. What struggles did you experience in your journey, and how did you push through that?
Well, I am not an IT person. I'm not very techy. So Shawnee has now become the IT department. So that does fall on you a lot. I'm sorry, Shawnee, but
That's okay.
it's not my strength whatsoever. So that has been kind of difficult at times, I think.
Yeah, because we basically had to put all these systems in place, like we want to get our financial data audited every year because we're a nonprofit. So we have someone do that for us. And that actually really taught us a ton about all the systems to put into place as we were growing. But we realized, like, I don't know what that like, I'm not a IT department, really. Like, it's scary that I'm doing it.
Thank goodness you are. It'd be worse if I was.
But like, just learning, like, as I go, like, okay, what do we need? We need an inventory system. Okay, so let's look at these. And okay, now we need, a donor database system. So let's figure that out. And how does everything talk? And then we need to send email. It's just all this technology stuff that we didn't know we would necessarily need. And so at times that's been difficult and a lot of work to like implement. I think we had trouble getting some food during COVID, which was a kind of a problem, getting some food items. And then
already kids who were suffering because they weren't in school.
yes,
So their issues were compounded, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a happy mistake in the beginning because I was in charge of that new inventory system and I messed it up. So I completely over ordered food and we overpacked. So we were okay in the beginning of COVID, but
You're right. That is a happy mistake. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
because I messed that up. I'm not in charge of the inventory system anymore. Take that away from me.
Talk about your fear factor, when you're starting something new, scale of 1 to 10, when you first jumped in and you had these moments of, oh shit, I don't know this, how do I do this? Talk about that and how you push through that.
There's maybe a couple seconds of fear and then we're like, okay, what are we doing? How are we doing this? Let's just get it done. So, and I think, as Shawnee said before, it's easier because there's 2 of us. So it's not all falling on one person. So we can sit here and brainstorm and push through. But I think that's kind of like our secret sauce. We're like, okay, let's go. Let's do it. You do this, you do that, and we're going to get it done. So
yeah, we really do just put one foot in front of the other.
And you have a mission, you have a goal, so you know where you're going and what you're doing. How do you engage other schools? I mean, is your school list growing? And right now you're at 5,600, 5,500 kids a week, which is huge. And so are you looking to grow that list? Are there more communities in need that could use the service that you provide?
yes.
Yeah.
So we are in every school in Norwalk, Stamford, and Bridgeport currently. And in the fall, we're hoping to move into Danbury as well. So we do a lot of one-on-one outreach with the school systems. And it's also a lot of word of mouth as well. And then we have a young man that just started for us back in December. He's bilingual. So he's been really getting out into the community and working with the Hispanic community. I think he's signed on about 1,000 kids alone. So having him on board has really helped us grow the program in the communities that we weren't really reaching prior.
That's terrific. I think that's terrific. So let's talk about, so how do you raise money? Do you have events? What kind of events do you do? I was looking on your website, which was really interesting. You have a lot of community events. So let's talk about some of the fun stuff that happens, which helps you raise the funds to do what you do.
Okay, well, actually, that's the one fear I think I have, and we both share this, about not being able to raise enough to support our program. That's the fear. I think that
Yes.
that could happen, so that is what keeps us going. And we do fundraising with our events, and we have a golf outing, which we've been doing since the beginning,
Mhm.
and that's really helpful and successful. We have a gala, we have a 5K. We just tried a pickleball tournament this past couple months ago. That was really fun. And then it's pretty much fundraisers here and there, like a lot of one-offs people will do, or they'll do like, instead of a birthday present, make a donation. So those kind of little things go on throughout the year. And then it's really grants and private donations.
Right, private, individual and corporate donations. And like Shawnee was saying, with the events, Plates with Purpose is our gala that's coming up on September 23rd at the loading dock.
noticed
We're very
that.
excited about that.
And I would like to be there, so.
Oh, good, good. And we need committee members if anyone's interested
Yeah.
in joining a committee. And then we also have offsite packing events for corporate packing events as well. So we're not professional fundraisers, but we are very passionate about what we're doing. And we did take a class online at NYU to try and further our fundraising skills, which was interesting. So we're always learning, and that's our way of asking questions when we took that class, I guess.
You know, we've got some fun events coming up. Have you partnered with some fun people in your past? Any celebrity sightings or other people in the community that have, you know, looked at your organization and went, I want to be a part of this with them?
Well, we have a really great community, chock full of different, you know, people, and like you said, different professions and such. So it's been really great learning about other organizations, businesses in the area, and our volunteers are awesome. We have a leadership committee that of 10 women who are really the backbone of our organization. They do a lot of the work out there, and it's just this community that's come together. It's just been amazing. It's shocking to me how many people stand behind the organization as a whole.
Yeah, people, I mean, are here at the packing events all the time. They run the packing events. It's just been great.
And you mentioned grants. So which one of you is the grant writer?
Neither one
neither
of
one
us.
of us.
We have a volunteer who is a grant writer, and then we have a development coordinator underneath her. So he's works beside her.
So you have a nice team of people who are helping you pursue this mission, which is incredibly important. Are any of your kids involved in the organization?
Yes, so my son is our office manager.
Okay.
So we still keep it in the family, and your kids come and help.
Yes, they come and go when they can. So two of them are in they're not in high school anymore. They're both in college. My daughter just graduated. So
but she was she painted the our logo onto the pantry cabinets that we put into one of the schools. So she comes and does other things for us too.
Yeah, they're all here at some point in time helping in any way they can. And that's, I think, what's really great about filling in the blanks is that our second mission, besides feeding kids, is also teaching the next generation about philanthropy. And we've had so many interns come back year after year. Our first intern started in 2016. He comes back every year to help. And it's always the kids that love being here because they know they're helping their peers. They could be sitting next to them at school or playing a sport with them. So it's real, it's here, it's hands-on. And I think that's really engaged the kids a lot.
And that's a wonderful point, because so often it is important. I think no matter where you are in life, and I think you guys would agree that it's so important to give back. And the beauty of starting someone on that philanthropic journey at a younger age is priceless. And it's just so important. And you never know, you know, when you will be planting a seed for someone years from now to actually take the initiative and start their own nonprofit. You know, they find a need and start their own nonprofit.
Yeah.
You know, it's what I think is so interesting about your story is that I'm calling you two visionaries, because as moms, you know, we do so much, but then there are the women who do what you did, who spotted a need and went, you know what, we're just going to jump in and we're going to create a nonprofit. And so you guys have the honor of being in the visionary category because you saw the need and you worked tirelessly to remedy this sort of previously silent issue in your backyard.
Mhm.
And that is like huge kudos to the both of you, because that is, you're setting such a beautiful example, and it's so important. So my hats off to the two of you for the wonderful work that you have done and all that you have created.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Appreciate it.
So let's talk a little more about, we since we are the Mom to More podcast, I'd like to ask both of you how you have worked to achieve your more.
So my kids are a little younger than Shawnee's, and it's really important for me to be home by 4 o'clock every day, so I could, be there when they get home from school. And being a mom is numero uno, right? For me anyway. And filling in the blanks during the day, making a difference in other kids' lives is so important to me, because as a kid growing up, we didn't have a lot. We had to use food assistance programs at certain points in my life. So this journey has allowed me just to grow as a person too, because I was administrative assistant before this. I've never run an organization and had employees below, work for me. So it's really been this journey, and I'm just really proud to do with you, Shawnee. I'm just so proud next to you.
I'm so proud of all we've been able to accomplish. And I think, for me, the motivation, it's kind of really fun when you've built something. We didn't know, oh, we're going to be feeding 5,000 kids. Oh, we're going to be in a warehouse. We just started with 50 kids, and we're like, we're just going to feed 50 kids and hunger will go away. But as we got more in this world, we saw the need that's out there. And I think that's a huge motivator. And it's, I know we can do anything together as a team. We're like a dynamic duo. We don't take no for an answer.
I love that. But when you think about it, that's a real mom trait. It's like, don't tell me no when it comes to my kids or the kids that you are mom to many.
Mm-hmm.
Think about all the kids that you are moms to, in addition to yours. And that's brilliant. And so, just like any kid, you become really mama bear, like, you're like, no, we're going to make this happen no matter what.
Yeah. And we also don't say no to a kid that's hungry or a school that wants to start a program with us. So that's, I think, the big motivation. What are we going to do? Let all these kids down? We can't do that.
Can't do that. No. And the work that you do is really incredible. Do you have any advice that you would like to give to a woman who's like a stay-at-home mom? Her kids are getting a little older. She's starting to see a little more daylight in her schedule. And maybe she is seeing a need in her community.
Yeah, find a good friend and start something together.
But don't be afraid to take that first step. The first step is the scariest part. So volunteer at a couple organizations. Lots of organizations need professional help too. So if someone was an attorney in a prior life, go volunteer at a local nonprofit and see if that's something that's still in your wheelhouse and something you want to do. So I would just say, go for it, try a bunch of different things. You never know what is path you all are going to go down. Because look, we never thought we'd run a warehouse ever. And here we are. So it's just take that first step.
I think that is some really strong and wise advice, because there's so many women out there who, I think they're just trying to figure out what they want to do. And what you also said about, women who are moms now who were lawyers. When you think about the community of women that surround you, there's a lot of women who are so experienced, and they have so many talents. And I think a lot of times women are just trying to figure out, well, here are my talents. Where do I put them? What do I do with them? And yours is just a great example of, well, I love your example because you just sort of like jumped off and you're just like, we're going for it and we'll see what happens, and you make it work. And that, I think that's a great lesson for all women who are just like, don't be afraid. Don't take no for an answer. And if you have a vision, persevere it, right? Persevere with it and move forward with it and figure out a way, grab a friend, right? Figure out a way to make it happen. So you guys have both exemplified that. And I thank you for what you've done and for sharing your incredible story.
And I think the only piece of advice I would say is it is possible to build the plane while you're flying it.
Oh, yes, it is.
That is wonderful advice. That's so true. I mean, that's really true, right? You just sort of jump in and do it, and you're like, we'll put on the wings after we get the wheels on. So
Yeah.
I get that. So why don't you guys tell everyone where we can find you on social media, on the internet? We will have all of this information in the show notes. If anybody is interested in volunteering or donating to filling in the blanks, all of the information will be in the show notes, and they'll have an opportunity to find you that way.
Okay, great. Yeah. And we're on all social media platforms, and fillingintheblanks.org is our website, and we can be reached there.
fillingintheblanks.org. Okay. And were you guys on Facebook, Instagram?
Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter.
Well, I want to thank you guys so much, because this has been enlightening and energizing and inspirational. And those are the stories that we're really trying to share with other moms, to say, whatever it is that you want to do in your next act, anything is possible. And you've made it so clear that it kind of takes a village, right? It takes a friend, but anything is possible. And I do love, Shawnee, what you said about building the airplane while you're flying it. So
we're proof it works.
Yeah, you're proof that it works. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode of Mom to More, be sure to follow us, leave a review, and share this podcast with other moms.